Hello and welcome to the show. I've always maintained that some of the best racing you can ever have on a Forza game is with some of the slower cars. Certainly when it came to Horizon 2, I think some of the most fun, some of the closest racing we ever did was with cars that had no more than 100 horsepower. And of course, seems only sensible to have another go. It works so well at the street races, why not have a go around some proper circuits on Forza 6? So that is what we set out to do. We were to build cars to no more than E-Class that were fitted with 100 horsepower. I went for this Fiat X19. I couldn't actually get race tyres on the car and keep it in E-Class with the 100 horsepower. I figured, though, having as much power as I possibly could, keeping at the 100 horsepower, would be more important than the race tyres, because we're not really going to get going particularly fast with these vehicles. Our first race would go to the Hockenheim short circuit, a track that has always produced some fantastic racing, so we were hoping that that would continue. A Toyota Celica at the front really did not get off the line, gets absolutely swamped by everyone as we come piling through this first quarter, an amazingly clean first quarter as well at Hockenheim, up towards the next turn, and it's 3 wide. I think that was Toyota was on the inside trying to squeeze past, couldn't quite make it stick. The Fiat trying to go around the outside, trying to outdrag the Scirocco down this back straight, but can't quite manage it. There are many people squabbling for positions. The Toyotas are pushing one another down this straight up towards the next corner. There is a huge train of cars as the Brat gets sideways. He's going to lose one place to a Fiat, very nearly loses a second. The X19 we're following has to fall back into line behind the Scirocco. Further back, it was all go as the Scirocco in the background gets turned sideways. This Fiat is trying to make a move around the outside on a Celica and does get it done. One of the real difficulties with this sort of racing, it's got a random grid, but if you start at the back, it is so hard to make progress through the field, even with a quick car. I mean, this Fiat and the Scirocco were pretty decent cars, but trying to make it through so many vehicles is very, very tough when all of the cars are pretty evenly matched. Yeah, trying to get overtakes done is challenging, and trying to make progress with your fighting with when you got 3 cars ahead of you, 3 cars behind you, everyone's fighting for position. A few people got into trouble with the curbs at turn 1. If you hit the curb on the inside too hard, it launches your car up into the air. It really gets some serious height off over that curb. So yeah, you could get yourself into some serious trouble there. The Fiat has managed to make a move on the Volkswagen, although the Scirocco is coming back down this straight. The Celica is in close attendance behind them. They're 2 wide up ahead. Pretty much everywhere you looked on the opening few laps, cars were 2 wide, 3 wide in some places as well. The Fiat manages just about to close the door from the Scirocco, but carries too much speed on the exit, runs wide, bumps the wall, and we've seen many cars end up in the wall out there, and all of his hard work is completely undone, and they're in almost exactly the same position as he was the previous lap. In 4th place was a Subaru Brat that was frantically trying to hold on to the position. A Fiat X19 is around the outside at turn 1. That, I don't think I've seen a pass around the outside of the first quarter there very often. That's a seriously tough manoeuvre to get done, so well done to the Fiat for getting past. The Brat, though, is just sliding down the order. It does not take much to lose positions here. If you get caught out, if you make a little mistake with such a large train of cars around you, very, very easy to get dumped 3 or 4 positions. But then equally, it's easy to make up positions if a car has made a small mistake. You can't afford to make mistakes with these vehicles or get tangled up with bumps and so on, because you're going to end up in an awful lot of trouble. This Scirocco was still trying to fight his way through the field as they're battling 2 wide, coming down the start-finish straight here. A Subaru Brat trying to get to the inside as we come down towards turn 1. It's 3 wide into the first quarter at Hockenheim. Not particularly a good idea, and sure enough, the Celica runs out of road on the outside. They made it through, though. They made it through. The Volkswagen Beetle goes very, very wide in the background. Made it through 3 wide at the first quarter. That's quite impressive that everybody survived all of that, and still the Celica and the Brat are fighting as we come down this back straight. The Celicas, they were surprised how many Toyotas there were. They are by far the heaviest car here by a good few £100. So everyone with, the same horsepower, 100 horsepower in these cars, the Celicas are quite a bit heavier. I was surprised to see the number of them. They struggled an awful lot in Horizon 2 when we did this. Again, they were struggling a little bit, certainly at Hockenheim. The Celicas were not faring too well. They just didn't quite have the acceleration out of the corners. This was further back down the order. A Scirocco was battling with a huge train of the Toyotas trying to make overtake stick. Once the Celica's got up to speed, they weren't too bad, but yeah, trying to accelerate out of the corners was their problem. The Scirocco tried to get his car alongside, couldn't quite do it, just tagged the back of the Toyota. That put him massively sideways, put both of them sideways. The Celica got away with it, and the Scirocco has lost 2 positions. This is almost 2 positions. This is what I'm talking about. You can't afford to be, making mistakes. If you're going to go for an overtake, you've got to make sure you can get it done, because it was so easy to lose 2 or 3 places with that small mistake. The Scirocco does get one of the positions back. The Celica re-tag was now right up with the fight with the group of cars ahead. As we go through this second to last corner, everyone is going up on a little bit onto 2 wheels through there. Now the Volkswagen is going to get to the inside as the Toyota, I think he put his car up onto 2 wheels across that final corner. It's 3 wide up ahead, it's 2 wide down here again, as the black and turquoise car has made up 2 positions as those 2 were busy squabbling. It's all getting a little crowded through that first corner with cars bouncing out wide. It's absolutely crazy racing. The Scirocco's found himself now dumped back to the back of this little pack. The green and turquoise car has made up God knows how many positions in all of that. It's just constant changing. You lose a couple of positions, you gain 3 as cars get tangled up. I mean, now the Scirocco's fighting with the right back with the front of this group of cars. There's a Fiat. It's like the Scirocco's going to get right up to the front of this group of cars, getting past all of the Celicas to go and chase after a Fiat as we go through the next corners. And the Celicas are constantly changing positions. Now one of the Toyotas are going to get to the inside of this faster corner. It's solid 2 wide almost through here. You can get to the inside through there, is all well and good, but that will put you on the outside for the hairpin, which is not really ideal. And in fact, the Volkswagen has got so much straight line speed, he outdrags the Celica, only to outbrake himself into the hairpin. That puts the Toyota back up the inside. All the while, the Fiat is just managing to keep ahead of this huge squabble. And this is all for places, I think it might even be around 11. I think it's outside the top 10. These guys were squabbling that hard for position. Further up, another car that we didn't see very many of that I was quite surprised by, the Honda Civic. I think we only had a couple of Civics in this race, which, yeah, I was expecting a few more Civics. I had one in Horizon 2. Pretty good choice of car, this one. He was fighting side by side with a Volkswagen down the back straight. The Civic trying to get to the inside. All of the corners around it, almost all of the corners, are pretty solid overtaking opportunities. The Civic tried to get to the inside, took too tighter a line, just ran across the grass a little bit. That got him into some trouble and a little too slow off the corner. And when you lose momentum with this car, you can get in a lot of trouble. You can see the amount of sort of gap he's lost to the Scirocco. Because these cars are so low on power, you really can't afford to sort of do half-hearted overtaking attempts, because you're just going to lose so much momentum and drop back at the front. And it was a Volkswagen Beetle that was to go on and take victory. He got to the lead pretty much off the line and would drive away from the rest of us. Me in second was losing kind of half a second a lap to the Beetle each lap. I just couldn't do anything about the Volkswagen, so he would go on to take victory. My Fiat would come home in second, and it was quite, you can just about see me in the background there, quite a distant second. I'd made a couple of mistakes as well, so trying to push a little too hard. It was another Fiat that would come home in third. We had quite a lonely race at the front. It wasn't particularly frantic for all of us, being relatively spread out. Our second race would go to the Lime Rock circuit. The Subaru Brat would get a very decent start. Also, the Fiats were pretty quick off the line as well on the most part. The Fiats could make up a couple of positions, getting going pretty quickly. I was in the middle of all of the shenanigans. It's 3 wide immediately into the first corner as the Brat goes through the middle of a Scirocco and a Celica. The Brat then gets a really good run off of the corner. He's up the inside of another one of the Toyotas as they run around this next corner, but you are stuck on the outside for this next turn, and the Scirocco gets turned sideways. It all checks up with a little bit of bumping. Further down, it gets very crowded. As you can see, cars were filling all of the road and some of the grass through that first section, but everybody got away with it. Everybody made it through, even with a little bit of rally crossing here and there. As we all come running up the hill, the Celica tries to go on the attack of the Fiat, but can't quite get alongside, with the Brads in close company. Further back, I was in the thick of pretty much all of the action on this opening lap, right in the middle of the field, as positions were changing very quickly within this. It was incredibly hard to keep up with just what was going on. It's almost 3 wide ahead of me into the final corner. I'm on the inside of a Scirocco that gets too much understeer, and he goes and plays in the grass. My Fiat was one of the quicker cars in a straight line, actually, as I blast past one of the Celicas. Yeah, I had some pretty decent straight line speed in my vehicle. I get to the inside of the other one as well, coming down towards the first corner. May have been a little too brave under braking as I run wide on the way in. There's a very sideways Volkswagen in the background as everybody is fighting side by side through these opening corners. Now I've got a Toyota back alongside me as we run through the next turn. I'm trying to get to the inside. The problem is, if you get caught up in battles like this, you might be very quick through the corners, but if there are cars ahead of you, you just can't do anything with the speed, so you kind of almost got to match the pace of the vehicles you're racing with. I end up getting back past by the Celica, and then I'm fighting my way on the outside as we come up the hill. For the second lap in a row, I'm stuck on the outside, coming up the hill. This time, though, a little bit braver with my Fiat. I keep my foot in it, still alongside the Celica on the outside for this next very, very fast corner. In these cars, it's maybe a dab on the brakes through some of these corners. If you're brave enough, you can carry a lot of speed through these turns. I'm around the outside, I get the position, and I managed to bring another Fiat with me. Again, the Celica was compromised, took a little tighter line, was a little slow off the corner, and another Fiat would easily pounce and get past. So very, very easy in these huge groups of cars to lose multiple positions. At the front, it was a Fiat that was leading the way, but he was coming under increasing pressure from the Subaru Brat, and one of the Celicas was very, very quick around this circuit. Definitely this track suited the Celicas a lot better than Hockenheim. Hockenheim, they could never really quite get going. Around here, though, the Celicas really weren't that bad. The Fiat running a little bit wide as they came up the hill would give the Subaru the opportunity he needed. Put his car up the inside, be on the inside for this next fast corner, and would get the position. The Toyota tries to follow the Subaru through. He wasn't quite close enough to get to the inside as he run down towards the final corner. The Fiat carries as much speed as he can, but just is not quite a match for the Subaru Brat as they run down towards the line. Further back, and it was still all going on in the mid pack. This Civic here was, I don't know what positions they were fighting over. There was so much. Again, this is towards the lower part of the top 10. These guys were fighting. You see the size of the trains that were going around the field was really rather impressive. The Civic here trying to get close enough to do something about the Scirocco, but it can't quite do it. Then you've also got to be so careful about not making mistakes because there's just a train of cars behind ready to pounce. The Scirocco ends up out wide. I think he hits the curb, gets on two wheels, ends up forced out wide. That's going to put the Civic up the inside, but going side by side through there, you both tend to slow yourself down. You both tend to take slightly compromised lines and lose a little bit of speed. And sure enough, the Civic trying to get back into the slipstream. He's about to come under a lot of pressure from a Ford. The Fiesta dives up the inside. A Beetle's going to try and follow the XR2 through as they come into turn one. The Civic runs a little too wide. The Fiesta runs a bit too deep as well, trying to get the pass done. The Volkswagen's up the inside, is very nearly going to get both of them. The Civic's now dumped back into a battle with another Celica and another Scirocco. The Scirocco tries to get to the inside, can't quite do it. Little bit of contact, but again, no real harm done. The Celica's going to get back past the Volkswagen. Constant changing of positions going on further back. At the front, though, it was the Subaru Brat that was to go on to take victory. Once he got to the lead, managed to pull away. Again, all of us further back were fighting rather heavily, but the Brat was a very, very quick car around here. So the Subaru would take the victory with a Celica coming home in second, which was, the Celica's definitely fared a lot better around this track. This was a huge group of cars. All of us were fighting on the final lap here. I think this was for third or fourth place between all of us. A Fiat, Celicas, the Beetle was involved, a Scirocco was at the back of the group. We're all trying to find a way past one another. The Celica here getting to the inside of the Fiat as we run up the hill. The Scirocco was trying to get to the inside of the Beetle as well, coming up the hill. So it's, again, we're back to being solidly too wide. This is helping me and the other Fiat to escape. As soon as you start fighting like that, you're slowing yourself down quite considerably. You can see the size of the gap that we'd managed to pull. Just those two corners with everyone fighting side by side, the gap that we could manage to get out over them. The Celica tried everything but just lacked the straight line speed to do anything about the Fiat. Yeah, that's just how the racing was for pretty much the entire thing. All of us were fighting ridiculously hard for whatever position. I think actually this might have even been further back than fourth and so on. Everybody was fighting incredibly tough for their positions. Very, very good fun, though, in these cars. This was even further back again. Quick cars were getting caught up in these battles. You could just spend an entire race getting stuck in traffic. The Fiesta was a very decent car around here, just trying his luck to get past the Celica. Couldn't quite do it. Ran wide at the final corner, and he was going to lose his place to Beetle right on the line. Yeah, that was some very, very close finish. Again, you can see how close the entire field is. This is after like 10-12 minutes of racing, and you can still see half the field in one camera shot. Yeah, lots and lots of fun. Our final race, we go to the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit in the rain. Unfortunately, the livery on my Fiat doesn't load, so the white Fiat, that one there, would be mine. I got a really, really good launch. The Celica that we're following, though, not quite such a good launch. Having had a decent grid spot, was falling rapidly through the field. It's 3 wide at the front for the lead up towards turn 2, and pretty solidly 2 wide for the rest of the positions as we round this next corner. The cars slipping and sliding a little bit, but because they don't have that much power, honestly, the rain is not particularly a huge issue with these cars. We run round turn 3, and everyone is still trying to hold it 2 wide through these corners. Subaru Brat up ahead, getting to the inside of a Beetle. Is a big Celica train in the middle of the field, but I think it was a Scirocco trying to make its way through the lot of them. Beetle gets, I don't know if he got a little tap or whether he just got a bit sort of bounced it off the curb, a little bit slow off the corner. Now all the Toyotas are fighting amongst themselves. The Volkswagen trying to get up the inside. The Scirocco's had some pretty decent straight line speed as we run across the start line, and sure enough, the Scirocco would find itself up through the order. The Fiesta was going to the inside as well. He would pass this Celica. Celica gets stuck on the outside, and just all of the cars are going flying past. Fortunately, one of the Toyotas up ahead will be the first vehicle to roll off the curb at turn 1 and tumble out of shot there. Yeah, you could roll the cars off the corners. It was mostly the Toyotas that were having problems as well with rolling their vehicles, so you did have to be a little bit careful with that turn 1 curb. The Subaru Brat was again very quick around here. He was making good progress through the field. Not sure if it's 4-wheel drive. I assume it was probably 4-wheel drive. Had an awful lot of grip around here. There's far more grip than pretty much any of the other cars. As the Scirocco and Fiat are having a little bit of a battle, they both get together just enough. It doesn't really affect the cars that much, it doesn't harm the cars at all, but it's just enough to slow them down a little bit, to compromise some of their speed onto the straight, and sure enough, that's going to allow the Brat to get past me. The Scirocco drops a couple of places. The Beetle finds a way past as well. Fiat back to having a look, seeing if he can do anything about the Subaru Brat, but yeah, the Brat was very, very quick through these corners. Another car that I was expecting to see a lot more of them. There's only one Fiesta, I think, that raced in the entire thing. Fiesta was a pretty damn quick car, actually. This thing was really going rather fast, challenging one of the Scirocco's down turn 1. Tried round the outside, was never likely to work there. Cuts back to the inside for turn 2, which is much more sensible of the overtaking manoeuvres. Can't quite get it done on the inside completely, at least, but then just has the acceleration out of the corner. Will get past the Scirocco before they even get to the corner, and the problem is he's all got to compromise the Scirocco, and again we see this, as you get passed by one car, it can often slow you down enough to let another car past, or 2 or 3 cars in some cases, if you're a bit unlucky. So yeah, the Scirocco loses 2 places. He does get one of them back on the straight, but it's so easy to get yourself in trouble and lose multiple places when everybody is racing so closely. Again, the Scirocco up ahead just ran a little bit wide. The Fiesta, with such good acceleration, can get his car to the inside and will simply out-drag him as they come down this start-finish straight. At the front, I inherited the lead after the Scirocco that was in the lead went on 2 wheels, coming down the first corner. However, I also inherited the big problem of an incredibly fast Subaru Brat right behind me, and try as I might in my Fiat, if it was a decent car, I could not fend off the grip that the Brat had as we come up towards the final corner. I thought I was in a pretty good position for defending my lead, but no, the Subaru Brat can simply drive all the way around the outside of the Fiat and would go to take the lead. That's a tough manoeuvre to make stick at the best of times. Brands Hatch all the way around the outside there. The Brat just had so much grip. I really did try with the Fiat to hold on to the lead there. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't carry the speed necessary. I did spot a little opportunity. The Subaru ran a tad wide coming down this first corner, which put me right on his bumper, and I figured, Well, if I was going to get the lead back at all, I would have to do it almost immediately. I knew the speed that the Subaru had. I tried. I got up the inside again. The Subaru is around the outside. He just has that grip and has the traction off of the turn to get ahead of me, and I just couldn't do anything through this next corner. The Scirocco that had been leading the race dropped back to third and dropped into a rather large battle as he was trying to fend off a Fiat. He does get his third place back and then runs a little bit too wide. Fiat's going to do a cutback onto the inside, and the more they battle like this, the more the pack behind starts catching up. The fast Fiesta was joining in. Celica was coming with them as well. It's just one of these things that as soon as you start driving like this, you're instantly going to be losing that important lap time. And of course, with these cars, carrying momentum through the corners was so important. If you're stuck on a slightly wonky line, very easy to lose quite a lot of time, and the cars would very quickly catch up and join in the fun. It's only taken a few corners, and already the Fiesta is right there trying to find a way past. Fiat's on the inside, would keep hold of his third position for now. Fiesta tried to get to the inside of the Scirocco, couldn't quite get alongside though. The Celica has joined in the back of this group as well, as we're still going too wide down here. The Scirocco thinks better of trying to go around the outside. Celica's got himself to the inside of the Fiesta. Volkswagen's got fantastic acceleration down towards these final corners. He is stuck on the outside for the first part, but if you can keep it there, you'll be on the inside for the longer corner, and sure enough, the Scirocco gets up the inside. The Fiat gets a little bump as he tries to turn in, and there's a Volkswagen there. That puts the Fiat out wide. Fiesta's passed. Fiat's lost 2 places in one corner, just running slightly wide, and the Celica is right there. Toyota, though, struggling with that little bit of straight line speed, can't do anything about the run down the start-finish straight. There's a Scirocco catching this group as well as they fight so hard. It's only taken him a couple of laps to close up a really rather large gap. Fiesta's trying to go around the outside at turn 1, can't quite do it. That's given the opportunity for the Fiat to have a look up the inside through the next corner. He's just a little bit too far back, though, as they run through here. And this is helping, certainly, the leader and me in second place. We could get away at the front of the field while these lot were fighting so vigorously over their positions. Fiat ran wide, ended up on the grass. The Fiesta and the Scirocco get connected together as they try to go through the corner. That dumps the Scirocco down the order as, they were having an awful close battle. A little bit unfortunate. Fiesta got up the inside and the Scirocco kind of turned in a little, just clipped the rear of the car, and they both kind of get stuck going straight and end up slightly off the track. At the front, things were much calmer for the Subaru brat. Having got past me, he would vanish off up the road. I couldn't do anything about trying to keep up with the brat, far too fast for my Fiat. I would have a relatively quiet second place after that. Relatively simple because of the huge battle that was going on over third. The Scirocco's a long way on 2 wheels down that first corner. The Fiesta managed to make his way to third and was just that little bit quicker than the cars behind. When he wasn't tangled up in the battles, could just start to drive away from this group. It was 4th place now that was the hard fought for position, and the Fiat, well, pushed his luck a little too much coming down turn 3, ran that little bit wide across the dirt, slows your exit onto the straight. That would allow the Scirocco up the inside. The Volkswagen would take the 4th place. The Celica around the outside almost gets both of them. I think at one point he does get both of them around the outside. No idea how the Toyota got such a good run through there. He does get to the 4th place briefly, but then there's the lack of straight line speed in the Toyota that would allow the Scirocco to get back past. The Fiat was coming as well, but couldn't quite do it. Just ran out of time along the straight. The driver tar would get the move done, but he couldn't quite get the Celica. These cars are as much fun to drive on here as they were on Horizon 2. The racing with these kind of cars is incredible. You saw some of the size of the trains that were going around, and they stayed in these huge groups for the entirety of the race. Yes, sometimes if you were stuck in the pack, it was quite hard to make progress forward because you were just stuck in this constant battle. I mean, the Beetle that absolutely dominated at Hockenheim couldn't do the same at any of the other circuits because he got stuck in the pack further back, got stuck in battle, despite having clearly a quick car. Was stuck in the field. It was a lot of fun. I highly recommend racing these kind of cars. You get so much close racing. You could point the camera at almost any of the groups of cars in this, and people were 2 and 3 wide through almost every corner. Every overtaking opportunity people were trying to make the most of, and so on. It was great fun. I love racing cars like these. There's so much going on in these larger races, and they're such easy cars as well to pick up and go racing with because there isn't a huge amount of power. You can push them really quite hard, incredibly forgiving. Got to be a little bit wary of the curbs sometimes in the wet. but that's kind of just a general warning. Anyway, yeah, these were really rather awesome. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.